You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
It's showtime, and you're listening to Florida Real Estate Radio, where you'll hear about what's relevant and where to find opportunities and solutions in Florida real estate. Right now, live in studio, here's your host, Brian Heckman.
All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in today. This is Brian Heckman coming in today from sunny Tampa. And you are going to be so happy that you checked in here, as you're going to learn a couple of really cool things today about Florida real estate that there's a good chance you might not know. But after listening here, you're going to really understand what this is all about. So today we brought in a super special guest for you, Darlene Sheets, who is a veteran real estate agent with Future Home Realty. And Darlene is going to share with you a couple of things on following up and keeping in touch and the communication process that she's got with her system. And then something specific about the Pinellas County real estate market here in the Tampa Bay area. And then if we have time, maybe a little bit more. So Darlene, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
It's great. I'm glad that we could get our calendars together to make it all work out. So why don't we do this? Why don't we start by briefly sharing when and how you got into real estate and why you're still an agent today?
Well, actually, I was in the medical field for 25 years. And at one point in time, my dad was a builder. So I actually started looking at some investment properties. And as I knew more about real estate, I says, I want to access this MLS thing. So in order to access the MLS thing, you got to get your license. So I got my license, and the next thing you know, I'm selling real estate, because when I do something, I try to go all out. Well, that was a little over 10 years ago, and here I am, and I love it ever more.
Very cool.
Yeah, I made that transition, from medical to real estate.
Very cool. So been in the business for about 10 years.
About 10 years, yep.
Gotcha. And then you're with Future Home Realty. How long have you been there for?
I've come and gone with Future Home Realty twice now. I've always said I came back home to Future Home.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been with Bob for 2 years now.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome background information. So let's kind of dive in to why you came in today and why we're so excited to have you here. Why do you think it's so important to keep touch with past clients and your current pipeline of clients? And then what kind of system do you have in place for this? Like, how do you go about this?
So many clients, or so many people that I talk to every day, say the reason why they don't have a connection with their past realtor is because of communication. They don't communicate enough. I listened to that over 10 years ago, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to make a difference for my clients, because when I do something, I try to be the best at what I can do. I keep in touch with my clients at least 2 to 3 times a month. I like to ask my clients, what's the best way you'd like me to communicate?
Right.
Pick the phone up. Do you like emails?
Text message. I mean, geez, it's crazy. Facebook messages now. It's crazy, right?
I know it. There's all sorts. But everyone's different. Some folks might like, they're old school. They like to just pick up the phone and give me a call.
Right.
Whereas perhaps the more tech-savvy clients prefer the texting and emailing and so forth. So I try to accommodate my follow-up and my communication with my clients and what they're looking for.
It's interesting you say that. There's I read something, I shared this with somebody just recently, where I think it's like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, I'm not sure exactly what the number is, of customers that are selling or buying their next property would use their same agent again, but they just haven't heard from them. So they literally forget about who their agent was or who their mortgage lender was. So it works both ways on both sides of the industry, where they just forget because we don't stay in touch with them. And I think that one of the most amazing things is that you have a ridiculous, let's call it a portfolio or a Rolodex of vendors, from home inspectors to repair guys to that little handyman, AC people, roofers. I mean, you have all these in your back pocket that you use all the time. And so the opportunity arises for somebody, you close in their property and they just bought their new house with you and they're so happy, and a year and a half later they have a little wet spot that shows up in the roof somewhere, and now they need a roofer, and now they go to the yellow pages. Well, those don't exist anymore. Come on, let's be real. they go to Google, and they're looking for a Google search,
Right.
or the guy that does the advertising in their local neighborhood newspaper, and that's because they don't hear from you, or they forget your contact information, and you have the guy that would come highly recommended, would be a phenomenal service to them, because he, of course, wants to earn their business, but he wants to keep you happy and keep your reputation. So I think that's one of the biggest things that both for consumers, like that's why you want to stay in touch with your agent, because you guys are such a source for so many different things, all things related to house, that when something comes up, like you're the best person to call for that stuff.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that, because as a matter of fact, I pride myself. I always like to be the go-to girl. Give me a call if you want the name of a trusted
Right.
handyman or
Trusted anything. Yeah, anything related to your house, right?
exactly.
So true.
Yep, my neighbor actually just contacted me by email the other day and said, can you recommend me a good air guy and a good handyman? I got back to her in 10 minutes and she says, "Wow, you're quick."
Yep.
I want to be that person that people call for to refer. I always like to say I like to refer good people to good people.
Right.
So that's what I'm all about.
So that's and that's I have some friends that don't understand why the real estate agent, after they got their transaction closed out or whatnot, like I didn't really hear from him much again after the process was over. And I think that's the biggest thing, where consumers, man, just realize you got an amazing source right there in front of you of somebody that you want to stay in touch with, and you want to take their call when they call, whatever it is, once a month or every quarter after your transaction closes, not just to say happy birthday or change the clocks back, but man, there's always something going on with houses. You're in a house 5 or 7 years, and stuff's going to start needing to get fixed up. So what a great great reason that they should want to stay in touch and hear from you.
Yeah, thank you.
Because you probably have, how many vendors would you say you have? I mean, I bet you would have probably 20 different vendors.
At least.
I wish that radio would have video that could have seen the look of, like, I don't even know how many I have. It's not a book anymore. I keep saying book, but I mean, I know there's probably a lot of contacts in your phone that.
Well, you know what I actually do, Brian? I actually have again, I'm old school, okay? I'm implementing the newer technology, but I like the old school.
Uh-huh.
I keep a regular calendar, paper calendar with me at all times, month at a glance. I like to know what I'm doing. But what I actually have at my house is I have a shoebox. And in the shoebox is special business cards of specific vendors that I actually categorize alphabetically, so that if someone calls and says, "Hey, I'm looking for a patent attorney,"
Mm-hmm.
I know a good patent attorney, I can refer that right away. Not a problem. So I like to actually, if I know in advance I'm going to be seeing that client, I'll take a couple of cards out, put it in my calendar, so I physically give them the card at the time that I see
That's
them.
awesome.
So that they have everything at their fingertips.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. So what about transactions in process? How often and in what circumstance? Like, you got a transaction that just goes into contract, and let's say it's a real contract. It's not a short sale. It's not. It's like it's going to close in the next 30 to 45 days. What does that communication process look like during the process? Because we both know, if we can't have a good communication process during the transaction, it doesn't really matter what happens after the transaction if they don't like how well you communicate or don't communicate during the process. So what does that process look like in your business?
I think what's really important, Brian, is to make sure that all the parties are fully aware of what their role is. And that includes the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, title company, mortgage broker, making sure everyone's on the same page, making sure everyone understands the timeline. Many times I'll have a client say to me, "Okay, what do we do next?" I'm glad you asked. I'm going to bring you down that roadmap and kind of put the pieces together. I think it's important that everyone in the transaction knows what they're supposed to do at all times. And I pride myself on communicating, especially by email at all times, on the transaction from start to finish.
Awesome. Good stuff. So let's get into the market here. So you're super familiar with the Pinellas County market. So I am really interested, and I know you kind of brought some numbers in and some data. So what's your take now on things, how they're going over there in Pinellas with the market?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I actually brought some information with me today. just to kind of give folks an idea of where we are at the moment. Looking back in 2012, I have statistics from the Pinellas Realtor organization that gets updated at the 5th of every month. So the data I have with me today actually is from November. And we kind of do a comparison. I always like to keep track of, as far as sales, residential sales, where are the bulk of the properties, what's the price point that these properties are selling. Between the 120,000 to 140,000, 10% of sales has happened in that particular range.
Wow.
Purchase price.
And that's the biggest that's the biggest percentage?
That's the biggest percentage, 120 to 140. And then the next step from there is 200 to 250. And again, this is for single-family residential sales.
And this is Pinellas County, which for people that maybe aren't from around here or whatnot that are listening, this is Clearwater, St. Pete Beach, Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs, all on the coast, essentially,
right,
in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, kind of like mid-Florida, West Coast area.
Right.
Now, condo sales, conversely, there's a little bit of a difference there, which is pretty surprising. Almost 9% of sales has happened in the $50,000 to $60,000 price point. And then it jumps up from there to a little over 6% of sales has happened between the $200,000 to $250,000 price point. Today's market, inventory is down. Properties, when they get listed, they're going very, very quickly. I try to educate my buyers. And a lot of buyers get frustrated, especially the buyers that are in the $100,000 range. I mentioned to them, look, we have the highest amount of investors in the whole state of Florida here in Pinellas County. What's also good to consider when you're looking at property is keep in mind what you're looking at, and if they're in the $100,000 range, that's where a lot of folks are looking for property,
right.
So the competition is going to be greater. Add that with the low inventory, you've got to really be sharp. You got to be on it.
Now, when you say sharp and you got to be on it, what does that mean? What does that look like? So you tell a prospective buyer you got to be sharp and on it. What does that mean?
What that means is it's important for me to educate my client with what properties are selling for. Educate them on days on market. Let me give you another statistic. Days on market as far as sales in November. 36% of sales have occurred between the 1 and 30 days on market.
Wow.
So that means when a property gets listed, if it's listed properly,
it's going.
It's going to go.
Going.
Going.
Not even going, just gone.
Exactly. And then, of course, the next step from that is
wow.
These properties that are over 180 days, those would be your short sales. Those properties that are just sitting, waiting to get negotiated. That's almost 19% of the market, 19% of sales.
So that's some great data right there. So what that's saying is either property hits the market, it's a good price, and it's gone immediately. And these are the things that we hear about where there are multiple offers, within 24 to 48 hours. There's literally people that are bidding on properties. And the other part of that is the houses that have been out there for 180 days, which means probably those are really short sales, is really what that means, right? That doesn't mean necessarily that at 170 days somebody reduced the price to the right price. It's probably more so short sales.
Right, and with short sales that a lot of folks don't keep in mind is a lot of buyers like to ask me, how many days on market?
Right.
If it's a short sale and it's been on the market 120 days and all of a sudden it comes back on the market, I try to explain with a short sale, the bank only looks at one offer at a time, so you can't technically put in a backup offer.
Right, okay.
So when it
That's interesting.
goes under contract, all of a sudden becomes active again, really that 120 days is irrelevant. It's just that property was tied up that long because of the first offer.
That's a problem in the market right there, but that's something that we have to deal with, is properties being tied up that long in the short sale process and all that. But that's just something we have to deal with, right? So
yeah, and you just got to be well educated, well informed.
Right. Where could somebody get this? Some of these numbers. An email address, your website. Where would be a good place for people to reach out to you and get? I mean, I'm a numbers guy. Like, this is great data.
Right. I'm going to actually post this on my website.
Perfect.
That's www.westflahomes.com.
Okay, that's www.westflahomes with an S.
Correct.
.com.
That's right.
Perfect. And then while we're on that, what's a good place for folks if they want to email you a question or give you a call?
That would be Darlene at westflahomes.com.
And Darlene is spelled Darlene.
Lene.
Perfect.
At westflahomes.com.
Great.
And my direct cell number is 727-409-7014.
Dynamite. Perfect. That's great data. Is there anything else in there that stuck out at you that you wanted to share? And that's some top-notch stuff there, just as far as what's going on. Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. One other thing I'd like to always keep track of, because it's important that buyers understand their financing and how what they're going to do in the market. Do you know that actually today 58% of buyers are purchasing cash?
Wow.
58%. 26% are going conventional, and then it just goes down slightly from that. Really important to have a sharp mortgage lender on board that really knows the market to be able to jump in, give that pre-approval for that client so that we can get the offer underway.
And what was that percentage again for cash?
58%.
That is, I would love to know what the units, like what the unit, and yeah, we're going to look at that today. The thought is like the rates are so low, and that's still spurning on people that it doesn't matter. They're still paying cash, which is, hey, that's great for you as an agent because you don't have to worry about any of the loan process. You're going, show me the money, right?
Right. And conversely, I recall mentioning this to a client, I'm going to say approximately 5 years ago, that the market was 25% cash.
Huh.
I mean,
that's amazing.
I still have a little bit of a difficulty understanding how more buyers don't leverage and get financing,
right?
Because of the low rates. But that's just what the statistics
Numbers are numbers, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Very interesting. Well, that is some great data. I love having folks like you to come in and just like hit it straight with here's what's really going on. And that says a lot about who you are as an agent. Your knowledge or experience is, you know what, we can all say our opinions, but you come in here and you throw around numbers with your specific market, and that's a very telling story with what's really going on. So greatly appreciate you coming and prepared with that data.
Thank you.
We're kind of running out on time a little bit, but what I would love to do, this was a lot of fun. I would love to have you come back in here and do this again sometime.
I'd love to.
So I know we got to like bang schedules and bang our calendars out to make it all work out, because there's some stuff we didn't get to cover that I would really like, that I think is unique with you and your business background. So I would love to do that if that's possible over the next, several weeks, months, or whatnot. Will you promise?
I promise. I love sharing information with folks.
Love it. It's on air, so you'll have to do it. Well, we'll definitely do that again. Well, I wanted to say a sincere thank you to our listeners out there for checking in and coming in and spending some time with us today. So thank you for listening to Florida Real Estate Radio, where you hear about what's relevant and where to find opportunities and solutions in Florida real estate right now. I'm your host, Brian Heckman, here with Darlene Sheets. And just remember, we're all in this together, so let's grow together.